Hello, I'm Julian MacQueen. I'm CEO and founder of Innisfree Hotels. We're based in Pensacola, Florida, and we currently own and operate several hotels up and down the Gulf Coast of Florida and Alabama. When I think about this question, I think the main thing is to choose something that you have a passion for. If you're going after the money, or if you're going after it for other reasons, maybe some pressure from your parents or maybe your peers, at the end of the day, you're going to need to be passionate about what you do, and that'll sustain you through the good and the bad times. And I think the other thing is maybe look at what you really enjoy doing in terms of being more out there with the people versus doing something that's more heady. If you enjoy people, if they give you the energy that you need to do more and more, that's really an important thing to look at, versus something that's more technical or something more scholarly, where you're dealing more with your intellect and with your all the technology that's out there. I think those are two big distinctions that I would think about. I think there's a lot that you learn once you're getting out into the world about how to be successful and be happy at the same time. One of the things I've learned is that it's not as important to find the answer to a question as find the right question to ask. This is not something that I learned in school, and it's not something that I think you can take a course on. The other is how to collaborate. The more and more I look at the things that I do on a day-to-day basis and the decisions that I make for the company, there are very few times that I actually make it on my own. It's always with the input of other people. And this idea of collaborating is something that I think is a very special talent that not everybody has, and I often don't have it myself, because I start thinking that maybe I have the best idea in the room, but I'm more and more surprised at how the answers come from the least expected place. And I think that's probably one of the key ingredients to what makes Innisfree Hotels successful, and what I see make great leaders inside the hotel company. My degree is in psychology, and when I first got it, I thought maybe this is a degree that's not going to be that useful, because there was not really something that you could get with a Bachelor of Arts in psychology. And what I've come to learn, of course, later on, the more people I got involved with and the larger the organization became, is that this is something I use every day. And when I start looking at what makes good leaders and good CEOs, is the degree that you can really understand people. And I often think about how important it is to be a very strong scholar and have a high GPA. And when I balance it all out, I really think that as important as that is, that it's really the street smarts that gets you to a higher and higher level. There are a lot of incredibly smart people that work for me. I'm sure if we did a comparison of GPAs, I probably wouldn't come up at the top, probably closer to the middle. But I think what's carried me forward is that I've had the ability to have good intuition, and I think that intuition comes from a different kind of smarts that comes from being out there with people, listening to people, intuiting what people are feeling and where things are going. And oftentimes people say, I know how to see around corners and stuff, and I think that really boils down to just understanding people. That's probably one of the key ingredients I would think about. You know, when I'm thinking about important things that I would advise young people to think about going into their career choices, looking at the world in a more global perspective. You know, this is no longer a world that's isolated by hardly any barriers anymore, economically, socially. In every way, the world's become smaller and smaller. And I think one of my key advice would be to travel. Travel and see places and experience different cultures. See how other people would handle a problem that you would genuinely think that it could be handled in only one way. But then when you get out of your own cultural bounds, you end up seeing that people handle problems in many different ways that are just as good or sometimes better than how you've been taught. Another is technology. Technology is your friend. Embracing it, you know, using it and as a tool in your toolbox. I think it's one of those things where with the world changing as quickly as it is, the world getting smaller and smaller, that technology is going to be one of those tools that everybody will become more and more dependent on to keep you sharp and keep you ahead of the competition. I think travel and embracing technology are the key ingredients of breaking away from the pack. Also, the idea that you live on $20,000 a year is a very, very smart way of building wealth. You know, when I was finally getting to the point where I owned 5 or 6 hotels, we still lived in a house that was very, very modest. And what that gave me was the ammunition and the freedom to make mistakes and to start building wealth, not in material things that are very temporary, but taking that money that I would have spent on a car or on a boat or a bigger house and putting it back in the company. That is the way to build wealth, and I think that's one of the big secrets that I learned early on from a very wise man that said always live below your means, and then you'll use that difference to build your wealth and it'll accumulate.